This wild ride surrounding Bitcoin last night. The SEC, as you may know, denying it has approved spot Bitcoin ETF, saying yesterday afternoon's post on X stated otherwise was false and that its account on the site had been compromised. Our Eamon Javers was all over this last night, and we'll watch it today as well. Morning, Eamon.
Yeah, good morning, guys. We got a little new information about the hack of the SEC's Twitter, now X account, last night from a posting by X's security team. Now, remember that, as you say, Carl, in the 4 p.m. hour yesterday, the SEC's official account published a statement suggesting that a Bitcoin ETF had been approved. That triggered Bitcoin prices, but within moments, the SEC said it was not true and their account had been compromised. Overnight, X posted a statement saying the compromise was not due to any breach of X's systems, but rather due to an unidentified individual obtaining control over a phone number associated with the @SEC.gov account through a third party. X also said that the SEC account did not have two-factor authentication enabled at the time of the hack. Now, that's a standard extra layer of protection, and it's going to raise questions about why the SEC did not take that obvious security step on such a high-profile account. I reached out to the SEC this morning for their side of all this. I have not heard back from them yet. We'll update you as soon as we do. And, of course, there is some rich subtext to all of this, guys. As you know, X is owned by Elon Musk, who has been a bitter critic of the SEC for years. So the blame game here could be particularly pointed, and we'll follow it throughout the day as we try to figure out exactly what happened and who made and lost money. And, of course, the manhunt now for whoever did this, guys. Back over to you.
Eamon, it's David. I just find it shocking that they did not have two-factor authentication on that account. Yeah. I mean, it should be standard for every single person who's watching us, for any of their financial accounts, or frankly for virtually anything at this point. I don't even know how they explain it. I mean, you can do it from home. I know they still may be working from home, many of them, but you can even do two-factor authentication from home. You don't have to be in the office.
Yeah. One of the things, so a lot to unpack there, right? One of the questions is going to be the X statement said they did not have two-factor authentication enabled at the time of the hack. So one question that raises in my mind is, did the SEC ever in the past have two-factor authentication, and perhaps it somehow was undone in some way? And remember, X has had a big push on to get people to pay for two-factor authentication, removing it in some cases from non-premium account holders, people who don't pay for the X account. So I've got some questions around when did the SEC have two-factor authentication in the past, if they did, and under what circumstances was that removed, if it was. So we're going to have to really dig in here and get some answers from both X and SEC on this, because there's some possibilities here that are really intriguing. And as we say, there's the blame game going on now between X and SEC. Neither one wants to be holding the blame for this.
Well, it's particularly rich when you go back to Cyber Awareness Month, hashtag Cyber Awareness Month, which was back in October. There's a Gary Gensler tweet that literally says, there's a reminder to secure your financial accounts as well as protect against identity theft and fraud. Remember to set up multi-factor authentication and use strong passwords or phrases. Also, Eamon and David, the SEC has been really on top of this issue of cyber security. Yeah. They put in place new rules, I think, that just went into effect that force, public companies to disclose more when they are attacked. I know the SEC is not a public company, but they're going to have to disclose a lot of information here. It raises a lot of questions.
Those rules just went into effect in December, Sarah. You're exactly right. And a lot of public companies are now feeling under the gun to disclose a whole lot more than they did in the past as a result of the SEC pushing them on cyber disclosures. We're going to have to see now whether the SEC follows its own rules here. They don't necessarily apply to the SEC, but in good faith, will they follow their own rules and disclose exactly as much as they can about what they know about what happened here? How did this exactly happen? Was it social engineering? Was somebody bribed inside the SEC? Was somebody hacked? Most likely, it's simply a phishing attack that tricked somebody into clicking and filling out their credential information, and some bad actor somewhere in the world got that information. Then the big question is, who done it? Someone made a lot of money here, I would guess, right? Because you saw the price of Bitcoin spike there. You see it on the screen right now, just before 5 p.m., about 4:11 p.m. last afternoon, when the prices really spiked. Knowing that in advance that spike was coming was worth a lot of money to somebody. Will that person get caught? Will they be punished? That's That's a whole other set of questions, guys.
Yeah. Well, Eamon, thank you. And of course, speaking of Bitcoin, you can see it is going to be down, although we're still waiting for the actual approval of that Bitcoin ETF. More on that a bit later. Let's move on now to the grounding of 171 Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft.